Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies and then talk about them because the one thing people need is more random guys talking about movies on the internet. With me, as always, is the awesome, the incredible, the Dwayne The Rock Johnson to my John Cena, Kyle Mulford.
Can you smell what I can't even do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
you see me, so.
hey, to be fair, as many movie podcasts are out there, I actually listen to several, so it's like it's good to have a variety of
That's true.
voices. All right, how have you been? We haven't recorded for a few weeks here. We had holidays over.
And let's see, this is one of our mini episodes where we just talk about what movies we've been watching lately. And I only watched 10 movies in like this 4 week period. So it's
And
pretty
even though it was crazy of holiday times, I watched several movies, so I got a few to talk about.
okay. So do you want to go first or should I go first?
Why don't you run through your 10 quick? See
Okay.
what you watched.
Was the classic musical starring Rosalind Russell and Natalie Wood, Gypsy. It's
I
where
have not
everything,
seen that.
yeah. And it's a story about it's the story of based off of a real life story of this stripper who's kind of more of an entertainer and like all about burlesque and striptease named Gypsy Rose Lee, played by Natalie Wood, and her relationship with her mom is weird because she's like one of those theater moms or one of those dance moms who also kind of really wants to be in the spotlight too.
Hmm.
Next, I watched Cats.
And you've already seen this. What are you doing to yourself?
My girlfriend wanted to watch Cats, so we watched Cats. And as a mess of a film it is, and it is a mess, there are still certain things I enjoy about it, like the best number. I think it's worth you looking up on YouTube is Skimble Shanks the Railway Cat because they turn it into a tap number, or it even sounds like at one point when he's tapping, it sounds like a steam engine starting up. So it's a really cool number. People really enjoy it. But then also, yeah, it's a mess. You probably shouldn't watch it. Or just don't be like me. At least don't watch it twice.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it once just because, if a movie's really a train wreck, I'm more apt to watch it because I like to put myself through that crap.
But it has sort of doing more research behind it, has deepened my understanding about okay why people liked the original Broadway show to begin with, because that show was on Broadway for 17 years.
Yeah, and I've probably mentioned before, but that was the first show that I went to on stage. It was at the Des Moines Civic Center in Iowa, and I went with my mom when I was in middle school, and that's the first show that I saw on stage. Besides
Jellicle.
besides high school productions.
Yeah, true.
So
Next, I'm just going to talk about these three all together because this was sort of the Godzilla anime trilogy that's on Netflix. They're three 90-minute movies and they all sort of run together. One's called Godzilla Planet of the Monsters. Basic theory, in this future, Godzilla and his monster buddies show up, destroy a bunch of stuff. Humans and some aliens work together and like, man, we sure can't defeat this Godzilla guy. I guess we'll just have to leave Earth. Then they leave Earth, go through hyperspace, come back. Whoops, it's been 10,000 years. Now we gotta see if we can finally kill Godzilla.
nice. Is this a newer
Next,
series?
yeah, this was in like 2017 and 2018.
Oh, cool.
I mean, animation is pretty good. It's nothing super special, but it's fun. It's Godzilla. I like the way they animated the Godzilla and the monsters. And then part two. All right, so we killed Godzilla. Whoops, we didn't kill Godzilla. That was just a Godzilla's offspring. The original Godzilla is still there and still massive. And now, oh, wait a minute. We found some old science stuff we used to use. And also, there's these still, like, humanoid creatures who still live here. We should probably help them out. And we're going to try and kill Godzilla again. Doesn't work. Number three, Godzilla the Planet Eater. Godzilla gets to fight some other people because apparently one of the alien species that is with us, of the three, is a little cray cray and kind of worships King Ghidorah as an evil monster.
So does anybody ever really kill Godzilla? I mean,
No, Godzilla's immortal. It's
they should
Godzilla
have stopped
trying to
trying.
live here. Yeah.
Just give them your sacrifices and move on.
This our last break did take place over the holidays, so I do have a singular Christmas movie worth mentioning. This is Come to the Stable. It's a really sweet Christmas movie about these two nuns who come in from France, and then they find like this hill sort of in New England in a place called like Bethlehem, Maryland, I believe. And they realize, all right, so because we prayed to God to help us survive World War II, and then to honor that, we're gonna build a we're gonna build a hospital here. Well,
Huh.
first, so that's kind of it's almost a comedy of how they're sort of able to figure out a way. Okay, we've got we know which land we want to use. Now we got to find the landowner, and they were able to get the land donated. Now we got to find this. Now we got to find a building, and it's just really all about sort of their endless faith in themselves and in the community around. It's pretty funny.
Cool. Where'd you watch that on?
This I just recorded it off the DVR,
Okay.
but the Godzilla anime trilogy is on Netflix. If I'm not sure if I mentioned that. Then after that, I didn't watch many movies until later when I decided to finally watch Crank 2 High Voltage. It's pretty great.
I don't know if I've seen the second one. I think I only watched the first one. So
You should, because it's all about them trying to up themselves from the first one. Because now this time his heart gets stolen and gets replaced by an artificial heart. So now he has to chase down the guy who stole his heart and try and get it back.
you
While also like
you stole my heart. Don't break it.
exactly, while also trying to keep his artificial heart charged by like electrocuting himself in silly ways.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes. And the movie doesn't take itself very seriously, and neither should you. But it's a good time.
I'm not sure how you take it seriously if you're running around with an artificial heart that you have to keep electro shocking to
That's true.
stay alive.
That one I just got a DVD copy from the library. Same for this next one. This is Color Out of Space. Came out last year,
Ooh, this is
starring
the
Nicholas.
Lovecraft one.
Yes, based off of the Lovecraft short story. And what's nice about this story is that it does stays away from the more racist parts of Lovecraft stuff. This one is literally just like, all right, weird aliens coming from like a meteorite and mess with farm family,
Well, that's
and then
fun.
so that you do get to see like this weird color that starts to make people go crazy, and weird, crazier, creepier stuff happens. Holds up. Actually, it's a good movie. Very well made, a lot of fun. It did legitimately creep me out when I watched it. So,
Okay, yeah, that's
I,
that's on my watch list for sure. I mean, Nicolas
mhm.
Cage in a Lovecraft movie.
Yep.
Sounds like something not to pass up.
This is like they show you in the trailers, but the color that they use is magenta. And the thing is, though, magenta, technically speaking, doesn't really exist. It's just like a trick of your eyes and your brain. So I haven't really looked into the science of it, but so maybe it is aliens that are magenta.
Oh, that's sweet. Magenta aliens. Magenta
Exactly.
aliens.
Next, I watched Detour, which is sort of a classic noir from 1945. Super low budget, but also super well made. Uses unreliable narrator. Has a lot of those beloved noir stakes. This one was another I DVR'd off of it, and that one's fun. If you like noir, that one definitely holds up very well all the way back from 1945. Basic stories about like a guy who's trying to travel across the country to be with his girl after his girl moves to the West Coast. He's coming from the East Coast, but oh no, he gets in more and more trouble, and sort of how did he get here?
Cool. I always like a good noir.
With one of the best bad girls I've seen in film noir.
Nice.
And last, and not well, maybe least, I don't know, depending on how you feel about it. So I watched Tenet, the movie that came out last summer that people were like, "Yeah, go see this in theaters," and I'm like, "No, I don't want to," and I'm perfectly fine with that because it's all about super spies or whatever traveling backwards and forwards in time, which is kind of a cool action gimmick. Honestly, I thought like, wow, this would make a really cool video game. I wish I could play this as a video game more than I could watch this as a movie. Because when you're playing a video game, you don't care as much about the story as you would a movie. Because there's a plot, and boy howdy is there's plot, but they're just you don't really know who the main character is. I mean, you know who he is, but like he doesn't even have a name. He just referred to as the protagonist. Like I'm the protagonist. You don't know anything about him. He's played by John David Washington, who really liked in Black Klansman, and he's a good actor. We've seen him in Black Klansman, where can be a very good, very charismatic actor. All right, we'll use that. give him stuff to work with other than just like I'm protagonist man.
Yeah. Well, and he was also the son of one of the greatest actors, Denzel
Yeah.
Washington. So,
So use that at the very least, because he's good, and you know he's good in the action scenes, but we know he can do a lot more than just action stuff. And then he's also in then the other sort of kind of buddy that he has someone to talk to half the time is played by Robert Pattinson. And I liked Robert Pattinson's character because he was kind of like this kooky guy who you're not sure is all there, you're not sure whose side he's on, but he helps the protagonist for the most part until you kind of find out, I guess, his sort of twist in the end. But
yeah.
at least he had a name, and at least he had a personality. I don't know how much of that was like Robert Pattinson, how much of that was in the script.
Yeah, I'm still going to watch this cuz I'm still a big Nolan fan even though he's had a couple that weren't as good, but I'm overall a fan of his and I will watch this. I was kind of disappointed to hear everyone saying that the plot was kind of muddled and confusing and didn't know where it was going and all that stuff because you know I actually really like Inception and this had the vibe of it according to the trailers, so I was kind of excited for this movie, but I'm still excited to watch this one even if it's not as good as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I don't necessarily regret watching it, but I don't like it doesn't it's not one of those movies like, man, I wish I would have saw it in theaters. No, it was fine renting it from Redbox for $2.
Okay, so one other thing that people complained about was that you had to see it in the theater because of the sound and everything, but then they said that they couldn't understand anything anyone was saying because the audio mix was so bad. Was it as bad on home video too?
We turned on the subtitles like 5 minutes in, so
Oh, okay. See, I watch everything with subtitles anyway, so
yeah, so like if you watch it with subtitles, it's a non-issue, but that's just something like, yeah, the audio mix, and I wasn't sure if it was the audio mix or if it was like more of a TV, more just like my home setup not being as good as a theater setup because that's just how life is.
oh, no, most of the reviews that I saw when it came out was the audio mix was terrible and no one could understand the dialogue. So I don't think it was just your TV if there was a problem.
Okay, so but yeah, subtitles were fine. Few things I liked. Once again, if you cover the whole plot about forward, backward in time at the same time, trying to meet in the middle or whatever, I think what would be more interesting, like I said, I want to see this as a video game. I'd rather play like a cool super spy, and you don't care if a video game necessarily has personality or not. Like when you're playing like Doom, you don't necessarily care if the Doom guy has a personality. You kind of fill in those blanks because you're playing as the Doom guy
Yeah.
or the Doom Marine.
You're there to just run around and shoot shit.
Exactly. And I feel like that would definitely work better in Tenet if you were sort of a video game and then you got to play with these sort of backwards and forwards in time dynamic.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That does sound like a good video game gimmick.
Who knows? Like maybe if it's maybe someone will eventually turn it into a video game or at least use some of the same ideas for a video game. I hope so because that
Didn't
could
they
definitely be a lot of fun.
didn't they do the backwards and forward in time thing? Wasn't it called Prince of Persia?
Sure. Like throw that into like a super spy action game
Cool.
with some shooty tooty. All right, that's enough of my thoughts on Tenet. And it's one of those situations where like, am I too dumb to understand this? No, I understand this. I just don't care.
uh, all right, so I watched a few more movies, and I watched a Christmas movie myself. I introduced my daughters, or actually, my wife and I introduced our daughters to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Uh, I don't need to talk much about this one. This movie's amazing.
hmm
It's hysterical. Just the Griswolds being the Griswolds through Christmas. A lot of
I
great
haven't seen
characters.
any of the other vacation movies, just this one, and I found it. And from that, it holds up on its own pretty well. And as a comedy sequel, that's still also that just a comedy sequel that stands on its own is really hard to do.
Yeah, and I don't know. This may be the best Griswold movie too, because I mean, I loved Vacation and European Vacation, but it's been so long since I've seen those that I guess I can't really compare because I've seen this one more often
hmm
and I've seen it more recently. So, but yeah, this one does hold up, and this one should be watched every Christmas. It's fantastic and just really funny. So, uh, Oh yeah, that one I did not watch on streaming. I watched that on a Blu-ray disc. But then I went on and watched The Talented Mr. Ripley on HBO Max. I
Nice.
hadn't seen this one since it came out in the theaters in 1999. And have you seen this one yet?
I've seen it. I've read the book. I've also read the previous adaptations from like the 60s called Purple Noon, which is another fun adaptation that's like an Italian version of it.
Yeah, I did. I did see, like recently that there was a early version of this film. I'm gonna have to check that out because this was really good. Young Matt Damon and Jude Law and Gwyneth Paltrow, and Matt Damon plays this kid who kind of just adapts to things, and he's given a task to go retrieve this rich guy's son from Europe because he's being all aloof and spending his dad's money over there,
In the 1950s.
yeah, in the 1950s, and he goes over there and doesn't really accomplish it. He finds the guy but doesn't really get him to go home, and then it turns into this whole thing where he just kind of slowly takes over this guy's life, and then kind of twisty and turny from there. And it's really good. Highly
Just
recommend it.
don't go on a boat ride with him.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then I watched another Christmas movie called Lethal Weapon from 1987.
You've talked about this one before.
I have, because I own the Blu-ray set, and I was like, it's Christmas time, and I actually watched this on my birthday, which is 5 days before Christmas. I
Nice.
love this movie. Yeah, I talked about it before, so go watch Lethal Weapon. One of the best buddy cop movies, like the quintessential buddy cop movie. Then I watched on Amazon Prime. I watched Blue Thunder from 1983, and this is a Roy Scheider vehicle. Um, it's a
Isn't this the one with like the super helicopter or something?
Yes. And he plays a cop, and they're testing a new helicopter with these weapons and super microphones and cameras and all this stuff on it. And then he finds out that the I don't know, the army general guy or whatever, played by Malcolm McDowell, has like nefarious plans for this helicopter. So then he kind of foils that, and his co-pilot through this is Daniel Stern. So
Nice.
uh, I really enjoyed this one. It's a really cool movie. A lot of cool. The helicopter chase scenes are pretty sweet in this. So I recommend that. It's on HBO Prime. It's directed by John Badham. I think
You
that's
mean
how you say.
HBO Max or
What's
did
that?
you say HBO Prime?
Oh, sorry. HBO. No, this is on Amazon Prime. Sorry, I'm mix and match there. No, it's on
Mm-hmm.
Amazon Prime. It was directed by John Badham, who also directed War Games and Short Circuit. So yeah, fun movie with cool
Does the
helicopter
robot
chase
from
scenes.
Short Circuit show up too?
What's that?
Does the robot from Short Circuit show up too?
Johnny Five. Johnny Five is the pilot.
I knew it. Johnny Five is the copter.
Yes. No, that'd be great if it was the same company who made like the short circuit robots.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
I mean, it was invented by Steve Gutenberg.
yes. Then I watched on this one on HBO Max. I watched another Christmas movie called Die Hard from 1988.
We don't need to say anything about this one.
No, other than the fact that this is the first time I've rewatched this in a really long time. And here's my stance on that Christmas movie. This is not a fucking Christmas movie whatsoever. Lethal Weapon, much more of a Christmas movie. I don't even understand people's like thing about this being a Christmas movie, other than it's a Christmas party. Like that's it. That is the
Yeah,
only thing in there. I don't get it.
still great action movie. People
Oh,
like it for a reason.
yes. You should like it for all the right reasons because it's a friggin' awesome action movie.
Hmm.
Then on Netflix, I watched another Christmas movie. This one's a legit Christmas movie. I watched Klaus from 2019.
I still haven't seen this one. I really like the animation though.
Yeah, the animation is really cool, and this one actually didn't it? Wasn't it up for an Academy Award, or it won one?
I
Or
I can't say I remember.
I know it was up for. It might have been up for Best Animated Movie. It's kind of an origin story of Santa Claus, just a new origin story about the son of the postmaster general or whatever, and he doesn't really want to follow in his father's footsteps, and so the father but he's using his dad's money all the time and is just used to just kind of like talented Mr. Ripley. He's just living off his dad's money. But his dad
Kill
goes,
someone?
so his dad sends him to like this remote little village way up in the north in snowy area,
He
and
goes up to Somber Town with the Burgermeister Meisterburger.
yes, I missed no, um, and he says he can't come back until he's delivered like 1,000 pieces of mail or something. But this is just like a town where there's a big feud going on, and no one even cares about the post office,
Oh
and then there's
no.
some toy maker there, and kind of gets into kids writing letters to. He's trying to trick them into writing letters to like put postage on them and send them to this guy, and then it turns into this whole origin story about like sending letters to Santa, to quote unquote Santa. And so it was a really sweet movie, and I really liked this one, so I would recommend that.
There was one like sci-fi original movie that I never watched that I forgot about, but that I wanted to watch it, called Letters to Satan. About like a young woman who, when she was a little girl, like accidentally wrote "Dear Satan" instead of "Dear Santa" or something.
Oh, nice. Dear Satan, I want a pitchfork for Christmas.
Hmm.
Then I watched on HBO Max Wonder Woman 1984 because it came out when it came out in theaters.
Yeah, I need to borrow your password again so I can watch that. But yeah, what'd you think?
It was fun for what it was, but I really legitimately think the first movie is a great movie. Like
Hmm.
I love the first movie. People had problems with the third act in that one. I did not. I enjoyed that all the way through. This one was fun, but it had a lot of problems with the plot and some of the characters, and it was and it was like wishes coming true, but then like there's this whole element of, well, all this stuff gets it's going to get negated at the end because otherwise the world's in chaos because of all these wishes coming true.
Hmm.
And it just, yeah, there's a lot of plot issues and character issues, but overall, like I said, fun movie, but just it's not a great movie, and I was kind of
Uh,
disappointed in that as much
what'd
as
you
I
think
liked.
of Kristen Wiig as Cheetah?
I had problems with the character, but I think she was really great.
Okay, so you liked her performance.
Yes, I did.
And what about Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord?
He was a lot of fun too.
True,
I
I like Pedro Pascal in anything.
Yeah, I'm as great as the Mandalorian too. Um,
True.
no, that's the thing is I think that the acting really helped it too because Kristen Wiig did do a good job of this was kind of out of her wheelhouse, and I liked her in it. I liked Pedro Pascal. Um, Gal Gadot is this is her third time out as Wonder Woman. She did a good
Mhm.
job. I like her. And then her scenes with Chris Pine, because he comes back because of the trailer. That's one of the things I have issues with is how he comes back and stuff like that. But I don't want to go too much into it. But like their scenes together are really good though, and so I really like their scenes together. But plot wise, it's you have a lot of questions. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I would recommend it if you're a fan of Wonder Woman. Still a fun movie despite its problems. Then I watched on Amazon Prime a newer movie. I think it was released in festivals in 2019, but it's a 2020 movie. Sound of Metal.
I've heard of this one.
I
Sounds
I saw a lot of good buzz on this one, and it kept coming up on my Prime every time I turned on Prime. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch this one. Riz Ahmed plays this drummer in this kind of punkish, grungish band or whatever, and he discovers he's starting to get hearing loss, and it's just kind of his journey with kind of reconciling with that and how it's going to affect his life because he's a drummer, in
mhm.
a band, and like if he keeps doing that, it's going to destroy his hearing, and he will go completely deaf. And it's actually a really good movie, and his performance really sold this movie. So it's also got Olivia Cook. I think the last thing I saw her in was Ready Player One. She
Yeah.
was she was okay in this too, but it's really watch this for Riz Ahmed's performance.
Awesome.
And then since I had already introduced my girls to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, I rented from DVD Netflix Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey from 1991,
Nice.
where they are killed by evil Bill and Ted robots, and then they're about to go to hell, and I'm not sure. Like that's the one plot thing. I'm like, why are they going to hell? They're actually good people. um, but they run into death, and they do the whole Seventh Seal thing. Instead of playing chess, they play Battleship and Clue and Twister,
Nice.
and William Sadler as Death in this movie is fantastic. So this is just it's another fun movie. This is actually a really good sequel. So if you're a fan of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, this is another just kind of goofballish fun time with Bill and Ted.
Hmm.
Another movie on Amazon Prime I watched from 2016, The Handmaiden.
Oh,
This
this one, yeah, with the Korean film.
yeah, and I had heard this was a good movie for a long time.
I talked about it on the show, I think.
You did, and that's what finally got me to sit down and watch it because even though I heard it was good from everybody, it was one of those that like the premise sounded really boring and the trailers did, and it was 2.5 hours long. And I finally sat down. I'm like, holy shit, this is good. and
Yeah,
I
it's
should
great.
have
Great.
known better because it's Chan-wook Park. So
Hmm.
and the just because it's just a handmaiden who actually starts out as like a thief, and the person who trained her sends her to this what is it, a Japanese family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a Japanese family to be their handmaiden, or the daughter's handmaiden in there, and they have this plan to kind of get her married to the elder thief and then discredit her and get her into an insane asylum, and so just to get her fortune or whatever. And then there's a twist, and then there's another twist, and then there's another twist, and it's just and it's just like,
They all work. They all work very well.
oh, they work excellent, and it's a drama through. There's no action. It's 2.5 hours long, and yet you're just sitting there glued to the screen, going, "What is good? Like, who's gonna betray who next? And what's going on with this?" Such a good movie.
Definitely. I think this one would go as a great double feature since it's mostly about relationship between women. A double feature with A Simple Favor since they're both very twisty.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's actually a really good recommendation there, and I think Simple Favor might actually also be on Prime. So there you go, folks. Uh, Also on Amazon Prime, I watched a 1988 film, Dead Ringers, from David Cronenberg. I'm actually a big fan of Cronenberg's early stuff, but this one just didn't do it for me. But
Oh yeah.
Jeremy Irons plays twins. They're both gynecologists, um, and one of them is like a womanizer who ends up sleeping with a lot of his patients, and then when he gets sick of them, he sends him off to his twin brother, and he's kind of shy and awkward, and it's just this weird relationship. And I really didn't know what he was doing with this movie.
Hmm.
It didn't. It sounds crazy, and it is crazy, and then of course at the end he fits in some weird body horror stuff. But this one just didn't do it for me. So not my favorite Cronenberg.
So not like quite as compelling as something like from Videodrome or like The Fly. Because what's fun about The Fly, I really think, is that you really feel bad for Dr. Seth Brundle.
Yeah.
A lot of it is thanks to the performance of Jeff Goldblum, who is still very charming.
Yes. Yeah. And speaking of which, I need to rewatch that soon because for Christmas I got the Shout Factory Blu-ray set of the Fly collection, which has the original Fly and its two sequels, and then the Jeff Goldblum or the David Cronenberg Fly and its sequel with Eric Stoltz. So
I've actually heard that the Eric Stoltz Fly 2 is actually pretty good.
yeah, I've heard the same thing. So I'm kind of excited, and I kind of want to see what the sequels to the original look like
Hmm.
too. um, anyway, then on Tubi TV, I watched a movie from 1970, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And
Oh, this is yeah, this one. I've heard of it, but
it is Dario Argento's first film.
hmm
And I think this one is one that's kind of one of those that's credited as one of the first also Giallo films.
we have talked about Giallo in the past, and
Yeah.
I need to watch more.
And this one really is. It's a murder mystery slasher flick. And it's this American writer is over in Italy trying to, get his inspiration, and he's about ready to leave the country and go back home because he wrote an article about some bird sanctuary or something like that. And then he's walking back to his apartment and witnesses a murder. And somehow he gets himself involved in the investigation and trying to find who this murderer is. And it just turns into a little murder mystery.
Is the writer played by Angela Lansbury? Is this just an episode of Murder, She
It's
Wrote?
it's a precursor. No.
I knew it. It's her first case.
Yes. No, but this is another director that I like his early works. Not so much his later stuff, but Argento. I love some of his earlier stuff. This is his very first movie, and I really got a kick out of this movie. I
Is
liked this
this the
movie.
one with the glass house, or is that a different one of his?
Might be a different one you're thinking of.
There's one like Giallo film where you see someone get murdered in a glass house. That's all I know about. That's all I remember.
It's not a glass house. It's like a storefront that has like this giant glass front. So like,
Okay.
yeah, so that might be the one you're thinking about. Highly recommend that one though. Then on January 1st, which was my youngest daughter's birthday, she picked out a movie to watch, and we watched Winnie the Pooh, A Very Merry Pooh Year from 2002, and just another cute Winnie the Pooh. This was we have this Blu-ray. Uh, Nothing special. The animals from 100 Acre Wood write a letter
Mhm.
to Santa, and
Oh,
and the letter gets lost, and they're all worried, but then they learn that it's all okay, and they have their friends. Uh,
yay.
it's a cute movie for kids. Nothing special though. And then another movie that came out that I don't think hit theaters and went straight to streaming was we watched. I watched on actually the whole family. I watched on Disney Plus. Soul, the new Pixar film.
I've heard really good things about that one. I just haven't seen it.
I highly recommend it. This was such a good movie. Guy wants to be this wants to play in jazz bands, and that's his dream. He's a teacher. He's like a music teacher at a school, but his dream is to play with in a jazz band, and he finally gets that chance, but he dies before it happens. And then instead of going into the light, he runs away from it, and then he gets somehow finds his way to the area where souls are first born. So he's trying to get back to the earth that way, and he runs into another soul who doesn't want to go to the earth, and it's a good sweet story. And
Did it make you cry?
I don't think I really did on this one, but like I did really enjoy the story though.
Okay.
It's very sweet and just a really good movie, so high recommend on that. uh then another Shout Factory Blu-ray I got for Christmas was The Thing from 1982. So I watched that,
Nice.
and y'all know this one. John Carpenter, monster movie, Antarctica. What's his face? Kurt Russell,
Mm-hmm. Wilfred Brimley.
Wilford Brimley, Richard Mazer, Keith David. Could just keep going on.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic effects, creature effects, and fantastic movie. So I don't need to say much about that. Everybody knows The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then I watched another movie on Tubi from 1981 called King of the Mountain. This one is Harry Hamlin of Clash of the Titans fame, and what's his face? I've drawn a blank on his name.
Gary Busey.
No, but Dennis Hopper.
Okay.
And they're going down the what is it, Mulholland Drive, the windy road
Mm-hmm.
in California, and King of the Mountain refers to like Harry Hamlin is like the new king of the hill there. He's like no one can beat him racing down that road, and what's his face? I just lost his name again.
David Lynch.
Uh, no, the one I
Dennis
just said.
Hopper. Sorry, you said Mulholland
Dennis
Drive.
Hopper.
That's my brother.
Dennis Hopper is like an old drunk auto mechanic that works with Harry Hamlin, and he used to be the fastest guy there, and he's all mad because Harry Hamlin is like kind of taking the throne and all that stuff, and it's just kind of a movie about growing up and getting past all that and all that. So
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting. Nothing I'd like highly recommend, but it was just kind of an interesting movie. Harry Hamlin and Dennis Hopper. I had never even heard of this film before I watched it.
That's a weird combination.
So then I watched another one that most people know on HBO Max from 1984 called This Is Spinal Tap.
Nice.
Rob Reiner. It's almost like you get it confused with a Christopher Guest movie because he's in it, and it's very similar to all of his kind of mockumentaries.
Yeah.
I've got this one. It goes up to 11. Why don't you just make 10 louder? Well, this one goes up to 11.
It is beloved for a reason, and I love the fact that Spinal Tap even once showed up in The Simpsons.
And their music too is like, you know,
It's not bad. It's pretty good.
yeah, it is good. And it's a fun movie because much like Christopher Guest movies, they're really over exaggerating stuff that actually does happen in the topic they're talking about, you know? So uh, just a band that's falling apart, but is completely oblivious to the fact that they're falling apart.
Yeah, and it feels real.
Yeah. So,
You feel like this is a band that could exist.
yeah, exactly. So that's a high recommend if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it in a while. It's on HBO Max. On Pluto TV,
But
I
the
watched a
question
night.
is, how much more Tap could it get?
What's
And
that?
the answer is none. It's so black. How much more black could it get?
Watched a 1978 film on Pluto called The Great Train Robbery with Sean Connery and Donald Sutherland. And there are a couple of guys who this is supposedly based on an actual train robbery from like 1856 or something like that. The first train robbery, and actually in Europe there was, around the time this came out, there was another train robbery that the papers were calling the Great Train Robbery. So they renamed, in Europe, they renamed this film the First Great Train Robbery or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, so if you're looking for the title, like it could be under either one of those two titles. But Sean Connery and Donald Sutherland, it's this really cool kind of 1800s heist movie, basically, because half of the movie doesn't even involve the train. It involves trying to the gold that they put on the train is in this giant safe that's got four keys to open it, and they're kept with like four separate people. So they hatch these schemes to get into these places and get to these people, and Donald Sutherland makes molds of the keys. So actually, you know, like it's called the Great Train Robbery, but that's the last half of the movie. The first half of the movie is just trying to like get the keys made. So,
Cool.
and then there's a whole scene of, you know, Sean Connery running across the top of the train, and I guess he did his own stunts with this. It was actually,
Nice.
and the train was only supposed, like I was reading some trivia on that, and the train was only supposed to go fast, and he's like, or so fast, and he's like, they had to have been going a lot faster, and he's actually on top of the train running across it.
Mhm.
And with the camera, they were measuring, like, you know, kind of like they do with markers, and they're going, oh yeah, that train was going faster than it was supposed to be.
Nice.
And I guess, like, I don't know if it was his girlfriend or his wife at the time was like mad that he was doing his own stunts on that. So, but it's a really fun movie. So, and that's on Pluto TV. Movie I watched on Netflix from 2019, Yes God Yes. And this is a shorter movie. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes, but it's this high school girl who's in a Catholic school or whatever, and you know, all this teaching, and it opens up basically with a teacher teaching that, you know, abstinence is the way, and like, you know, you'll go to hell if you have sex or whatever and all that stuff, or
Hmm.
if you even think about this kind of stuff. And then, you know, then she gets online, and this is set in the 90s, I think, because it's just like on AOL chat and
Nice.
on an old computer. So you know, no cell phones and everything. So I think that's why they set it just a little bit back. She gets into a chat with this one dude, and it kind of turns raunchy, and she doesn't really know what's going on, but like she starts getting a little hot and flustered.
Hmm.
Um and then she doesn't know what to do with that, because she goes to this school where they teach you that that's a sin, and you're going to hell, and don't admit to this kind of stuff. You should not be doing this. And then she goes away to a camp where they kind of like drill it in even more. And it's kind of a good movie because while at the camp, she realizes the hypocrisy because she sees other people doing stuff in secret there,
Hmm.
and you know, comes to realize that, like, no, this is perfectly natural. This is a normal thing to go through and all that. And you know, you should be helping kids get through this time in their life instead of just saying it's bad, don't do it. You know, so I really liked this film. It was good, and that's on Netflix, and it's a short watch, an hour and 20 minutes, like I said.
And
So
this is different than, and so this is like more of a straight drama as opposed to like a comedy, like But I'm a Cheerleader, which is about going to like a pray the gay away camp.
yeah, this is more of a drama. You know, she has to deal with all this stuff because she actually there's also she starts getting shunned because there's rumors around which this
Mhm.
there is some funny element to it because there's rumors going around that her and another boy like she tossed his salad and that's the joke is like she doesn't know what tossing a salad means. So they actually put the definition up on the screen before the opening credits though. So
That's funny.
so there is a little bit of comedy to it, but it also is. I thought it was kind of a serious movie about you
Okay.
know dealing with this, and it was a really good movie. So I recommend that. That's on Netflix. And then one final film I watched on Hulu, which I hadn't seen in a long time, was Maverick from 1994. No, not not the Tom Cruise Maverick.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, I remembered really liking this when it came out. Mel Gibson, James Garner, James Coburn, Alfred Molina is in it, and Jodie Foster. And you know what? I still really dig it. It is a fun movie, and I kind of forgot that it was directed by Richard Donner.
Huh.
And there's actually like a lot of cameos in there too. Like uh, there's a bank robbery scene where I didn't even recognize him, but I only know from the credits that one of the bank robbers was Corey Feldman,
Nice.
who Donner worked with on Goonies. And
And
then
this was a this is a western, or was this a
this is a western. Yeah, it's Mel Gibson is plays Brett Maverick, and he's trying to get money and get to this casino boat that's having a big poker tournament that it's like a $25,000 entry fee, and he's kind of a con man, and it's kind of fun to just watch him trying to sham his way into all this money to try and get the entry fee onto this and James Coburn plays a sheriff who ends up being the sheriff on the boat, and then there's a twist with that too. But no, not Coburn. James Garner. And James Garner apparently played Maverick in the old TV series.
well, okay, I didn't realize it was based on a TV series, so
Yeah. So and it's a really fun movie. It's got a screenplay by the screenplay was written by William Goldman, directed by
nice.
Richard Donner. Great cast. There's even a speaking of Donner just had a lot of fun with this. You could tell because he was putting like a bunch of cast members from like Corey Feldman and all that stuff in it that he's worked with before, and then he in the bank robbery scene, the main bank robber was played by Danny Glover.
Nice.
So and then when he robs the bank, Mel Gibson is in there too, and he looks at him, and Glover is like wearing a bandana over his face, so like Mel Gibson just kind of pulls it down, and they just stare at each other, and then the saxophone music score from Lethal Weapon plays,
That's
and
fun.
and they're both going, "Are you really no?" Nah, and they walk away.
That's fun.
So yeah, it's not like a Oscar winning movie, but it's just a really fun movie, and I highly recommend this one too. So that's what I watched the last 4 weeks. A lot of good stuff in there that I really highly recommend. So
Hmm.
hopefully, that gives some people some stuff to watch. But anyway, I guess it's getting on the long end here, so can close up and let people know. Let us know what you've been watching down in the comments below, and
Yep, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell, that sort of thing.
yeah, and you can find us on Twitter at AwesomeKM,
I'm at Noah underscore Saturn. That is spelled Satern.
and we are on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. So hit us up on all those, and like I said, let us know what you've been watching. Let us know what you think of some of these movies. You agree or disagree on our takes. And till next time, keep on watching.
Yeah, until next time, you see, you got to go forwards in time to go backwards in time to go forwards in time to go backwards in time. And my eyes have gone cross eyed.
My brain hurts.
Exactly.